You will feel so connected and so whole. When you're in that state, you no longer experience separation. You no longer are saying, I need that. You're saying, I already have it. I don't really need anything. And when you're in that state, guess what happens? You go from selfish, driven by the hormones of stress, to selfless. And all of a sudden, that heart of yours begins to open, and the innate capacity in you to give, to take care of, to nurture, to serve is who we really are. And all of a sudden, you create a community of people that are in love with each other, and they understand the way that we survive is in cooperation, no longer in separation. So imagine this. I always say that the thought that you think is the electrical charge in the quantum field, and how you feel is the magnetic charge in the quantum field. And how you think and how you feel is broadcasting information into the field. So then if you have drawn from your visible field of energy and turning it into chemistry, and you're more matter and less energy, you're separate from that field, it's going to take a long time for your dreams to occur. Because we live in a realm where there's infinite space. Look, space goes on forever. And the way we experience time as matter is we drag our body through space. Let's go get that. And if we drag our body through space, it's going to take time. So it's going to take time for you to get your dreams, because you're matter trying to change matter. But if you're in a realm, and Einstein said, the field is the sole governing agency of the particle. He didn't say the particle is the sole governing agency of the particle. Matter doesn't affect matter. Energy affects matter. So then if you were in the field, then you should be able to connect to that energy and begin to exert greater effects on matter. But doesn't that mean you can't take your body there, right? Can't take your face, can't take your weight, can't take your vegetarian diet, can't take any of it. You got to leave that all there. You got to go as consciousness. You got to go as an awareness. Now, we've measured this enough times. Imagine 750 people in a room, in an advanced workshop. They have overcome themselves. The first day is all about overcoming themselves. And we know that the energy in the room usually goes up slightly, because we measure it, or it goes down slightly, or it goes up a little bit. Because as people begin to break their emotional bonds with everyone and everything in their life, they're drawing energy from the field, and they're building their own vital field of energy. Then we should see the energy in the room drop. And we do, because, hey, if you're using your best friend to reaffirm your addiction to suffering, then you're breaking that addiction, then you're gonna no longer be bound to that person energetically, and you're gonna start calling energy to build your own field. Because all of that suffering, all of those emotions, all that guilt, all that resentment is your creative energy that's tied up. So there's no energy to create with. So then as you're drawing from this invisible field of energy, and you're breaking the bonds with your past, present reality, the energy of the room will drop. And we've measured it. But when people start to overcome themselves, all of a sudden they start to contribute to the field of energy in the room. Now all of a sudden their heart starts to become more coherent. How do we know that? We measured it. And I don't care how old you are, I don't care about your past, I don't care about your skin color, your gender, I don't care about any of that. When people finally open up to this center, we teach them how to do it. And I just was in a long meeting with the Heart Math Institute that we partner with, and he keeps telling me, your results are supernatural. And I keep telling him, our students are supernatural. Imagine 750 people in the room, they're overcoming themselves. And they start activating this center, their center of oneness, their center of wholeness, their connection to the unified field. And as the heart starts getting coherent and it starts creating elevated emotions like gratitude, people are feeling the emotions of their future that begin to create holism and oneness. And not just doing it for a few seconds, we want our students to sustain it. to make it a skill, to regulate internal states independent of the conditions in their external environment. And our students can hold it for 45 minutes. Imagine, the heart is in super coherence. When that heart starts to beat in rhythm and they're sustaining it, all of a sudden that field starts to expand. That energy starts to become very coherent, like dropping a pebble in water, after pebble, after pebble, and it's creating this wave. And that's the magnetic field around the body. A measurable magnetic field. This is science. And that energy is a frequency. And all frequency carries information. So imagine then 750 people in the room opening their heart with an elevated emotion like the joy for existence, the love for life, the inspiration to be alive, care, kindness, compassion, activating this center, the union of duality, and they're putting out a measurable, coherent magnetic field. And if all that frequency carries information, they lay the thought, the intent on that energy. And what if you had 50 people in the front of the room wearing heart rate monitors? And they're sitting there, and the rest of the room is sending the thought on that energy for the greatest good for those people sitting in the front of the room. You tell me then how majority of those people, how their hearts all go into coherence at the exact same time, on the exact same day, in the exact same meditation. You see, we are bound by that field of love and energy. And that's what creates community. When you start to open your heart, every single person that you are connected to, you begin to have an effect on, because you are entangled in energy. When that person starts to go into heart coherence, and they start producing a measurable coherent field, and their brain is in coherence, there's research that shows that the heart and the brain are communicating not just by nerve cells and nerve tissue, that they're interfering and creating a coherent electromagnetic signature. And the heart begins to act like an amplifier, and it begins to affect the brain, becoming more coherent. The brain sends a more coherent message to the heart, and all of a sudden the person is in a whole different state of being. And that state of being is what I call the natural state of being. That's who we really are when we're not separate, when we're not warring, when we're not deceiving, when we're not competing, when we're not prejudiced, when we're not living in fear and hostility that creates separation. That's who we innately are. If your energy becomes coherent, and the person next to you's energy is coherent, and those two energy fields come together, and they start interacting, and they start interfering, they're going to create a bigger amplitude, a bigger wave. And the bigger the amplitude, the higher the energy. And then the higher the energy, then the more energy we should see in the room. And we've measured the energy in the room, and it always goes up in our events because the divine is present. And the person then becomes more energy than matter, more wave than particle. And now, we used to see small changes in our events. You know, people having here and there some wonderful experiences. And now, it's happening in shorter and shorter amounts of time. And the higher the energy, the faster the frequency, the more connected they are to the unified field, the shorter amount of time it takes for it to occur.